Michigan hosted the Buckeyes. Buckeyes are now sitting at 11-1. Wolverines get the dub 30-24. So now Michigan has a 3-game winning streak over the hated Buckeyes. I think what takes the cake is that night, it's either Saturday night or Sunday night, laying in bed, getting ready to shut her down, scrolling through Twitter, and I see this tweet from an Ohio State fan, and he says, "Is this what this feels like? Is this what Michigan fans have been dealing with for all these years? This is miserable." And I'll just tell you on behalf of Tennessee fans, man, it's miserable. It is absolutely miserable to have multiple streaks go against you, especially when it's a bitter rival such as a Florida or an Alabama. But props to Michigan. I just want to say props to Michigan. The sideline goes without Harbaugh. Coach Moore takes over, and he's risky throughout the game, and it pays off. And they've got all this, public scrutiny against them for cheating and the firing of a linebacker coach and all the stuff, all the talk. And they are so honed in to the task at hand. It's extremely impressive at how well they play together, how not distracted they are. You know what? I'm creating a bit of a disdain for Michigan with all the stuff that's surfacing with them. I think for the first time in my life I was like, all right, Ohio State, come on. But I find what they've done, despite being in a negative light, really impressive.
Yeah, dude. I couldn't be more impressed with Michigan. It's just one thing if Harbaugh was coaching and you're just dealing with all the attention and all the talk, all the hate. Mm-hmm. If you were just dealing with that and having your head coach with you, it'd be one thing. But, convince me that Sharon Moore is not going to be a head coach within a couple of years. It would actually surprise me, I think, if this cycle of the carousel unfolded and he didn't have a fairly large job. I don't think he'll leave for just anything. I think he's clearly that type of guy. And maybe this thing ends up taking Harbaugh out of the game one way or the other on his own accord, or not his own accord, and he steps into that role. I could totally see that.
Yeah.
I really like the guy. I really like the emotion. Some of the choice language is funny and off a little bit, but I really like the guy to this point. And I mean, just handle business. They didn't win many individual battles. They won the rushing battle. They won the turnover battle, but they lost the yardage battle. They lost another couple of battles here and there. They did a pretty masterful job. I don't know if you saw the comments that Marvin Harrison Jr. had after the game talking about the types of coverage, just being bracketed, the things that they were running at him.
Okay.
To take him, to basically keep him from beating you. He's still at 118 yards and a touchdown. And a good friend of mine is just, oohing and eyeing at the catch that he made during that game. One-handed, I believe. I didn't have the game on during the time of that catch. Obviously an outstanding player. Obviously they've had receivers for many years now. They make their own argument for wide receiver U, though I wouldn't give them the nod. And just doing enough, handling business well enough to get out of this game with a third in a row. It will have been 5 years since Ohio State won this game. The next time they play it in 2024 due to the COVID cancellation. That's not something I thought I would see again, really, to be honest with you.
That's fair. Michigan was really bad in 2020. I'd probably take Ohio State in that game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was actually going to get to the numbers as well. There's a couple things that jump off to me. It seems like this game came down to the 2 McCord picks and Michigan going 3 for 3 on 4th down, which is really impressive. But the thing that jumps out to me is both teams, they're 3rd down. Ohio State was 4 for 9. Michigan was 3 for 12. Not good 3rd down performances. As you said, Michigan out-totaled them by 10 yards. Ohio State out-threw them. Hello, Marvin Harrison. Michigan outran them, but they still only ran for $150 and a little over. And another thing that caught my attention as well was the penalties. Ohio State had one penalty for 5 yards, and Michigan had three for a little
Yeah.
over.
Yeah, that's a bit to overcome, real, especially to me. And I know that they made up for it on 3 4 downs, but the 3 for 12 on third down, that's indicative to me of not being able to throw the ball and pick it up when you need to, not being able to get yourself in enough, you know, 3rd and 5 or less to where you can kind of call anything. That's what that's indicative of to me, and just can't really find the words to how impressed I am by that. But super impressive to just flip the tables in what was an ugly, ugly streak for them and continue to find ways now. They kind of ran it wide open the last couple of years, and it just wasn't that game this year.
Yeah, yeah,
Tough, much tougher win.
yeah. There's only one thing that I believe would impress me more out of Michigan, and that's if Michigan would had stolen signs despite out of all this scrutiny of stealing signs, that if they'd still found a way to steal the Buckeye signs under in being in this limelight, that would be impressive. But I'm going to assume in this situation, since they're under such a microscope at the moment, that they didn't do that, or if they did, the back work had already been done and they were just.
Yeah.
But from what I saw, I didn't get to see all of it because I had to do a wedding. But I thought Michigan was uber physical, especially at the line of scrimmage. And it's almost. Do you remember the game we played this when we were kids? It's a 1v1. You interlock your hands, palms up, and the game's called Mercy. And the objective is to overpower, to get the other person to bend their hands back. If you can see me on YouTube, you can get a better idea and visual for what I'm talking about. But it was almost as if even from the get that Michigan had a bit of a leverage over them, towering over them a little bit, as if we're the new dogs in town. And
yeah,
we're the ones that are about to put on a new streak. And you are the new old us, if that makes sense. So I was impressed with Michigan. McCarthy played well, 16 for 20, $148, so not a lot of yards there, but a score to add on to it. Good for a 94.5 QBR. But Kyle McCord, just want to touch on him just for a second. 18 for 30, not bad at all. 270, 2 touchdowns, good. 2 picks, not good, especially in a game like that. Henderson only gave you 60 yards on 19 touches, but you found Harrison 5 times for $118. And outside of him, it's pretty evenly distributed.
Yeah.
3 catches, Stover 3 catches, Igbuka 3 catches. I think you have to get him more involved. I think he's got to be your second go-to guy, but it was obviously Fleming. And then Henderson 3 catches and Xavier Johnson 1. The game plan for Ohio State seemed to be pretty simple. Get the ball to Harrison. And what's impressive, again, I know we're using that term again, is Michigan's like, that's fine, do it. Watch this.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. And I think it boils down to largely, specifically to your point about the Mercy reference. Michigan is building a vintage roster is what they're doing. I mean, they've clearly done it on the offensive line the last few years with the Joe Moore awards that they've won. I think they're more sound, or they're deeper, they're bigger, and really more spread out talent wise and size wise across the defensive line. Now Ohio State's had their fair share of edge guys that would wreck your entire world, especially in the college game. But on the whole, the trenches, offensively and defensively, they've just done so much. I mean, it's crazy. Another point I wanted to comment on. You talked about how impressed you would be if they had stolen their signs still throughout the deal. Yeah. Did you hear about the pregame flyover?
No. So I'm so mad. People get married in the fall, and it makes me so mad. And then you ask me to do it. Dadgummit.
Should be illegal, 100%. But the pregame flyover was a Boeing P-8 Poseidon, which I challenge you, listener, look this plane up. Boeing P-8 Poseidon. It looks like a commercial. It looks like they flew Delta or United, just flew it over the stadium just to do one. But that plane is a maritime patrol and recon aircraft. It is literally a spy aircraft. They did this obviously trolling. I mean, you don't just fly over the least impressive looking plane that there is. You're clearly trolling. 10 out of 10 job on that, if so. And I just love everything about this result. I mean, obviously, I would have loved it if they had won 50-24, but I love the result and the way they kind of had to win a tough one in this and get that stop at the end.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds like a petty Jim Harbaugh with the flyover, and I like it. I dig it a lot.
Oh yeah, love it.
Yeah. So I want to end this segment by asking you this: this Michigan team, the one that you saw on Saturday, can that team beat Georgia? Now, keep in mind, I'm asking you about the Michigan that you saw on Saturday.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, Georgia gets up for the big ones.
Yes, they do.
Stupid hard to beat. They don't sleepwalk. Can this team beat Georgia?
I still don't think they do. That's, what we saw Saturday. No explosion.
Will they or will they not? Can they? Do they have it in their abilities?
Yes, they do have it in their abilities, and it would have to be a low-scoring game, and they would have to find. I'm sorry, they can't not be able to run, and that's my fear, that they would not be able to run, or that at maximum they average 4 yards per carry as they did on Saturday. They're not able to again find third and medium or less, obviously, and then. Like you just mentioned, Georgia getting up for the big game. Well, let's say it's 4th and 2 in a big game. Who you got to convert, offense or defense?
Oh my gosh, like the Michigan offense versus the Georgia defense?
Yep, who you got? 4th and 2, big national title game.
It's on the line?
Yeah.
I'm going to take
and it's not over.
The front.
The Georgia front?
Listen, I know all about the Michigan offense and Blake Corum. But Georgia just continues to do it. And so until they don't, I'm going to ride with it.
Yeah. This off topic because we're talking about the game, but we just kind of walked into this. I think if Georgia doesn't lose this Saturday in the SEC championship game, I think the three-peat is on. I'm sorry. That's the way I feel right now.
I think Michigan matches up better than Bama does.
Possibly. I still think you need more explosion in the passing game, and they don't try that. You know what I mean? That as of right now, they don't try that very often. And we'll see. Harbaugh's going to be back. McCarthy has played better in the games that his head coach has coached, which is not surprising. But I just don't. I'm afraid I don't see it as of right now.
That's fair. Well, when you say explosion in the passing game, maybe you're talking about something like Milroe to Bond in the final seconds. Maybe that's what you're getting at. Buckeyes travel to Ann Arbor, take an L on the forehead, 30-24.
Pandemonium reigns.